So in episode 289, I made duck confit. One of my favorite ways to use it is actually as a filling in ravioli. So I'm starting out here. I got some shallots in here. I have as if like a whole shallot, all really fine diced. And I've got a tablespoon of parsley leaves, a half a tablespoon of thyme leaves, and then to that I added the duck liver because I don't want to waste the duck liver either. And that'll just add a little extra note and complexity to the confit. So now what I'm going to do is take the duck confit itself up. Here's the leg. It's one of the legs I did in the previous episode. I'm going to take all of that meat off of here and stick it in this food processor while I'm kind of sautéing the rest of this stuff up. We just peel it all off. It just comes right off. It's super tender. It's super like ducky and everything. So again, just take it all off. Put all that stuff in here in the small bowl. It's because it's one duck leg. I'm using one duck leg, so it's just a small bowl of food processor. Okay. So I've got all of that, and meanwhile, this has cooked. Doesn't take long, right? I just wanted to get it just cooked. No, and I've gotten there. I'll get the last of the confit off of here. Put it in there. Last of all that stuff. And I'm going to take this. I'm going to put that in here too. Into the food processor. This is going to be essentially the filling. The duck confit has a lot of flavor, right? I mean, it was cured, so it was already salty. It had a lot of flavor, so I don't need to add that. That's the primary flavor of the filling. I don't need to add anything to that, right? And then I'll just kind of do it. It's going to take a couple minutes. I'm going to clear the decks. Now, this is a little bit too thick, okay? I want to be able to, get the filling in there nicely. I think this is really a little bit too thick. So what I do to make the consistency a little nicer is I add crème fraîche. Sure. Now, how much? It depends, right? It depends how dry all the other ingredients are, how much it's one layer, how much it's one layer. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in. And I'm just going to mix that in really well. And we'll see how it turned out. Okay, that's kind of what I'm looking for. It's more of a pate kind of a thing like that. You can see the consistency that I was aiming for. All right? So the next thing we're going to do then is we got to get the ravioli ready. Besides, I want this to sit for a little bit to get the flavors to go together. So we'll be back. Well, time for the ravioli. And what you're going to need for that is one batch of pasta dough from my episode 46. It's rolled out and cut into 2 sheets. I happen to have this little mold thing here. It's not necessary. You could lay the sheets out and just do it. This is sort of convenient. You put one sheet down, you press down here to create a little well, and then you can pipe filling into each ravioli just like that. So it makes it a little bit easier. I'm going to spread it out here and just about the right amount in each one. That's all you really want. See if I got a little bit more. There we go. Let's see. They're all about even. So let's call those even. All right. So what I do from that point is then I'm going to put the other piece on top. But first, before I do that, I want to wet the edges where they are going to seal in order to just kind of encourage them to seal well. So we're just going to wet all the way around the outside edge. And then, of course, you also have to do all of the inside borders too. I'll do this. If you're doing it free form, it's a similar thing. You're going to lay out the sheets. You're going to do free form ravioli pieces down. And then you're just going to want to do this around each one. Maybe you're going to make round ravioli. It really doesn't matter. But you do want to make sure that you get a little bit of dampness around. Then we take the other sheet. We put it on top like this. Okay, center. And what I want to do is I want to push down. I want to try and squeeze out as much of the air as possible before I seal them. All right, because the air can cause them to expand too much, cause them to burst when you cook them. So I'm going to do that. And the way this particular device works here, once I've done that, because it's got sort of these fluted edges on it, all I need to do is go around like this, and you'll see, I'll show you here. You see what it's doing is it's making the edges, and it's actually sealing them, and it's actually making the little dividers on the two. So I'm going to do that. And to be honest, it's also kind of cutting them, not completely, but pretty close. I'm getting almost all the way down to the middle with these fluted edges. Then I want to be careful on the ends to make sure I get the ends also. Okay, so that's basically the ravioli themselves. I'm going to pop these out of the mold. I'll finish cutting them apart, and then we'll let them rest a little bit, and then we'll come back and we'll do the little sauce I have in mind and cook the ravioli. All right, we are ready to finish this puppy up. First, let me show you the ravioli. They came out really nice. They're fluted. They're sealed very, very well. I have some water boiling. This is salted water. And tonight we're just going to do something very simple. It's called sage brown butter sauce. You just want to cook this until this butter, just plain salted butter, in there until you start to see the brown. And I'm starting to see it. Start to see the things turning brown. Turn it off the heat. Throw the sage in. That's what flavors it. Then we're going to put the ravioli in here. They won't take very long. It's fresh pasta. So I'm going to let them cook. When they come up to the top, then they'll be good to go. Like I said, this is off the heat. It's just still getting a little brown. You can see it's getting that little brown in there. The sage is starting to flavor it. So that's going to be really, it's very, very simple, right? Very simple. Yeah, and the ravioli are getting close to being done. In fact, they're fighting to not come up to the top at this point. But because it's fresh pasta, right, and the inside was cooked, right, all the filling was cooked. So I'm just really trying to heat it up. And let me check. Yeah, those are pretty much done already. Now it goes a little bit longer. Well, anyway, so what we're trying to get here is that, again, the filling is kind of this rich, savory duck filling. It's supposed to have that texture because I added the crème fraîche, which was to make it a little softer, to make it a little, however you call it, creamier. You can call it silky. I don't know what you want to call it. And then the liver that's got in there, and then we're going to have this nutty brown butter. So these are done, and I'm just going to throw them in here. And you see the pan is still warm, right? So we're going to get that nice effect on these. I'm going to toss them in here. And the idea is just to toss them so that they get a little bit of that brown, sage brown butter on those. And do that. Ooh. A little bit brown. Good to go. Now we're going to plate for Donna here so that she can give a taste. Oh, you stick while we're here.
Okay. And dives in.
Yeah. And again, I just need to cook the pasta and warm the filling because it was already cooked. Don't want to get this. By the way, you don't want to serve the sage leaves. That's just a extra point there.
Well, the filling is fantastic. It's I've got that little bit, very tiny hint of the liver, but just gives it more depth of flavor. And if you've ever bought duck confit and used it, it's incredibly salty, but this is not a salt bomb and so that's kind of the secret if you want to make duck confit yourself, is you have so much more control over the process. And if you start like potted with a whole duck, then you get the parts.
Yeah. So that's it, folks. That's one way to use the duck confit that I made in a previous episode. I think it was $2.89. In any case, give it a try. We'll see you next time.